Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Transnet Talks, happening here on the sidelines of the Africa Mining Indaba for 2026, currently on its third day here in Cape Town, South Africa. Now, if you've just joined us virtually online through our many platforms, we welcome you and are excited to have you join us in conversation. And as you might tell in a moment, there's also several guests who are joining us as audience members, participating and listening live to our podcast. We're excited to have you join us on a journey of conversations we've been unpacking over the last 3 days. Now, if you just joined us, you might be wondering, where's Jeremy? Where's Ayabonga? Well, those are my colleagues who have been hard at work over the last 2 days, bringing you conversations with various executives here at Transnet. And today, I pick up the baton to further engage as to how best it is that we continue to leverage the opportunities that we have in modernizing rolling stock, finding new opportunities as well to tap into structurally participating with the private sector in our ports, and of course making sure that there's a clear understanding of the messaging that Transnet is leaving here at the Africa Mining Indaba for 2026. So I'm Gugulethu Mfuphi, excited to be your host for today, but I'm not alone. This morning we kick off our first episode in conversation with someone who's responsible for business development at Transnet as a group. She's worked tirelessly with her team and various executive peers to make sure that customers have their needs provided for. And you might recall, just over 2 years ago, right here at the Africa Mining Indaba, there was a great level of frustration in terms of ensuring that the right reforms are implemented by Transnet to facilitate and allow mining companies to export their products outside of the country. While Transnet listened, they've responded. And one person who's been leading these particular conversations together with her peers and ex-partners in Exco is Yolisa Kani, joining us as Business Development Manager at Transnet Pro. So excited to touch base with you again, ma'am.
Always exciting to have a conversation with you too, Gugu. Good morning.
Good morning. As we look around and I guess monitor the buzz that's been happening here at the Africa Mining Indaba, I must say, firstly, I'm intrigued because we've been having these conversations for a solid 3 to 4 years. And it's been wonderful to actually witness the evolution of the messaging, the support, and the impact that Transnet has had, not only on the mining sector of South Africa's economy, but the economy at large. Maybe give us some insight and perspective as to what you've done and how you've done it so well.
Oh, Gugu, thank you so much. I mean, you're quite right. 3 years ago, we were not in a good space. Customers are not so happy with us, but it's good to actually sit here and say we've actually turned the corner, if I may put it that way. We are certainly out of the proverbial ICU ward. So to your question, what have we done differently? There's a number of things, but I'd like to point out number one, and we say this with pride, we've strengthened our leadership. There's stability, not just at an expo level, but the executives in the operating divisions. That's number one. We've also given our customers the attention they deserve because they pay our salaries, right?
Yep.
There is no Transnet without customers.
Yep.
That's clear. And that's a clear message that filters across. So we give them the time they need. We call it the voice of the customer sessions. So we are forever in their offices. They are forever in our offices telling us where the challenges are and how best we solve them. But most importantly, we've partnered with our customers. The improvements that you are seeing in the tonnages, it's not just us as Transnet. It's the collaborations and the partnerships that work together with our customers. Now, where is proof of that? If you go to RBCT's annual results that came out, I think about a week or so ago, they've improved their throughput by 11%.
Double digits?
Double digits.
Yeah.
And they are citing us as part of that improvement. And they're not the only ones. We're not where we'd like to be, but certainly we've come out of the 140s mark in terms of the tonnages that we are going to be exporting and on our rail services, Gugu. So it's an upward trajectory as far as we are concerned.
100%. Well, glad to see that improvement there within the Richards Bay Coal Terminal. And of course, that's something that's likely going to speak to ongoing developments we see right across the group. And let's talk leaseco. Because perhaps a few years ago, this is a business and part of the business that didn't necessarily exist, but it speaks to one of the innovative solutions that Transnet as a group has brought to the fore to enable support and, of course, improve customer satisfaction. Help us contextualize where we are in terms of leaseco and how it's going to be operationalized.
Let me first give a context, Gugu. If you go to the freight and logistics roadmap, there's a lot of objectives within that. And one of them is enabling new train operating companies on our rail network, which we've done. We've got about 11 new train operating companies that have been given access on our network. But for them to be able to do that, they need access to rolling stock, guys, right? Again, within with the very same freight and logistics roadmap, there is a section there that explicitly states that we are a key enabler of helping this TOC to access this rolling stock rather, in a transparent, fair, and a non-discriminatory manner. So that's where LISCO starts. If you look at it from a policy objective point of view, we have that responsibility to service all of these TOCs, including our own TOC, which is TFR. But where are we now? When we met last year, we're talking to you about preparing to go on an RFQ to look for our potential partner. To date, you've shortlisted. Yes. We cannot state who has made it through the first round. Okay. But we are certainly preparing to go to market again with the shortlisted bidders on an RFP basis, which is basically the last stage of going to market. And thereafter, then we start talking negotiations. So, and there's a lot of work in the background. We've got our guys that have been traversing the entire country, looking at the very same rolling stock that we are going to be making accessible as our equity contribution into the establishment of LISCO. So I suppose, Gugu, we've made quite significant strides. We are truly excited. But what excites us the most is that out of the TOCs that have been granted slots on the network, half of them have approached us for rolling stock. We've already signed 3 contracts. So whilst we're finding a partner, we are doing what we call tactical leases. So the partner will find us in progress.
Got you.
Yeah.
Keeping on the theme of LISCO, and as you say, a lot of progress that has been made. Maybe talk us through, I guess, some of the learnings in terms of making this practical. Because this is a new territory, right, for an institution like Transnet in a country like South Africa.
It's actually not so new, but it's not our core. So I mean, we're already leasing to Zimbabwe and Zambia. What we know for sure is that we're not the only ones in the market, but we probably have the biggest fleet. That's number one. What we know for sure is that what looks like B fleet is, in other words, it's not your new generation. It's not stuff that you would be excited about. There is a market for that. So it's not necessarily scrap.
Yeah.
That's number 2. But the third thing that we've learned is that there always is an opportunity to partner with the private sector, because we're bringing rolling stock. They're bringing other things that we don't have. For instance, they're bringing capital. They're bringing much more stronger expertise in terms of asset management and leasing expertise. So it's quite exciting, and we welcome these private sector partnerships for exactly that reason. That which we don't have, we draw from a private partner. And again, we know for a fact that it forms a very critical part of regional integration. So in the tactical leases, we're also seeing operators coming from the rest of the region, not just South Africa.
100%. Maybe let's continue the focus on PSPs, private sector partnerships, and how this in of itself, you're trying to accelerate fleet acceleration and leveraging these partnerships. Are there more nuances to the detail and the kind of value we're trying to unlock in these partnerships?
Look, I mean, let's start with the fact that there are nuances. These are big transactions. These are commercial transactions that are... the value attached to them is not just 2 million, it's billions of rands. They're very complex by nature, and there's various aspects to it. But on the same breath, Gugu, we've actually concluded quite a few big ones. We've got the DCT2 or Pier 2, as we know it, that's just concluded. It went through a terrible phase of being legally contested. And everything that was raised there as being flawed in the transaction was proven otherwise by the highest court in the land. So it actually says that we are able to conclude these type of transactions. Tick.
And that's an important point, right? Because at some point, governance controls, and it's about
100%. It's not the only one. We've got the LNG terminal in Richards Bay. that TPL has concluded with Vopec as a strategic partner, right? That's also a major transaction. We've got a pipeline of PSPs that we're going to be rolling out no less than, I think, this year alone, the calendar year, we're talking about 3 to 5 of those. But I suppose the most important thing we've learned through the rail reform and the freight and logistics roadmap is that we kind of have to pivot or somehow do it in parallel. There's operations that which we are good at, but we also have to have a commercial eye at the same time. So it's quite a precarious balancing it. But so far we're learning. Every transaction teaches us something, although they're different. But so far we're doing well.
Got you. Let's take this back to a day-to-day issue that you are faced with and opportunities that you tap into. The customer. Yeah. The customer has needs. The customer seeks opportunity, and this is where PSPs, and as you've mentioned, the liberalization of the freight railway is also a theme to that. Talk to us about how these interventions that are being placed by Transnet really unlock so much more value for customers, and maybe if we make it specific to mining houses as we are at the Mining Indaba.
Look, I'll take 2 corridors that are our 2 big corridors. I'll take coal and I'll take iron ore. We know the nameplate capacity. We know that coal can push 81 million tons. We know that at some point it was doing less than 60. It's still doing less than 50 million tons. Ideally, it should be at 81. Same for iron ore. Our target and the nameplate capacity is 60 million tons. What we did with our customers is jointly, we did an assessment, an independent assessment. We both agreed that something is broken on both these lines. Yeah. And we then appointed independent service providers. They did an assessment, yes. We then both agreed that for the coal and the ore line, this is what needs to be fixed. The next question is, how and when do we fix it? The truth of the matter is, we don't have the capital to fix as quickly as we can. So where do the partners then come in? In fact, there are more partners now than there are customers, to be honest with you. Then we put in 2 things in place. We have what we call the mutual cooperation agreement, which allows the customers to step in when we are unable to. And then there's a payback mechanism. It's working quite well. So there was a time when the coal guys bought compressors and batteries on our behalf. And guess what? It was quicker. It was at a lesser price. So we pay a 20-30% markup when we procure as government. And these are the benefits of working with us.
So it becomes a lot more competitive and favorable for all parties involved.
100%. And that also translates to volumes at the end of the day because trains are moving. So where are we now? We have now taken these studies and the outcomes thereof, and we are agreeing that what do we prioritize? We need rails. We are working on the signaling systems here. What's the quickest way of doing that? We then introduced another mechanism, which we call the customer cooperation framework, that again allows them to step in where we can't. Yeah. We've tested this with our internal auditors. We've tested this with the National Treasury, and our board has given it a nod. And we've socialized our customers. They're happy with it. So everything is going to happen faster because we've brought them to the fore. So I suppose at the end of the day, Gugu, and Michelle says this all the time, we're not in the business of leaving any cargo behind. Our job is in the business of moving cargo. Our job is to make sure that those stockpiles are lesser and the ports are moving that cargo out of the country.
Leave no cargo behind, 100%. Well, we're excited to see not only much of the progress that we've been hearing from many of your colleagues, much of the work that you're also engaging in, and of course, further conversations that you'll have with many of your peers here as well at the Mining Indaba.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Gugu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is Yolisa Kani joining us as Business Development Manager at Transnet Group. We'll continue these conversations here on the sidelines of the Transnet talks taking place at the Africa Mining Indaba.